Hello, I will be deliberating a lecture on the module named as Prayer and Healing in Islam. The lecture is divided into 9 main parts, followed by a conclusion. The first section deals with Introduction to Islam. The second section will expatiate the religious paradigm of Islam. The third section will be dealing with Islamic spiritual practices. The fourth section will be shedding its light on Islamic scholars on healing. The fifth section will focus on health and illness in Islam. The sixth section will be dealing with the prime concept of Islamic spiritual healing traditions. The seventh section will be centering on the role of ibadat and dua. The eighth section centers on the role of Islamic pilgrimages. Finally, the last section will be dealing with the concept of healing in Qur'an. Thus, the overall module will try to explore how the Islamic religion has engraved healing practices in their religious practices. Islam originated in Western Arabia in the early 7th century. Its founder, Muhammad ibn Abdullah al-Hashimi of Mecca, is believed to have begun receiving divine revelations in 610 at the age of 40. These revelations, which are collectively known as the Qur'an, continued up to the time of the Prophet's death. The Arabic word Islam means total submission to the will of Allah, that is the creator of the universe, by conforming inwardly and outwardly to his law. The word Islam comes from an Arabic root word meaning peace and compliance. Islam is a noun, masdar in Arabic. It is the second largest religion in the world with over 1 billion followers. Islam is a monotheistic religious tradition that developed in the Middle East in the 7th century CE. The Quran, the sacred text of Islam, contains the teachings of the Prophet that were revealed to him from Allah. Essential to Islam is the belief that Allah is the one and true God with no partner or equal. The Arabic root word that is used as the universal Muslim greeting is Salam Alaikum, that is, peace be with you. Islam has several branches and much variety within those branches. The two divisions within the tradition are the Sunni and the Shia, each of which claims different means of maintaining religious authority. The other two denominations are firstly Sufism, where the Sufis are the Islamic spiritualists, and secondly Wahhabism, whose followers mainly consider themselves as Sunnis. Islam is a universal religious tradition claimed by over 1.3 billion people throughout the world at the end of the 20th century. Muslim communities exist in virtually every country. The largest concentration of Muslims is in the region of South Asia, where they are fairly evenly distributed between India, Pakistan and Bangladesh, along with minority communities in Nepal and Sri Lanka. The nation with the largest Muslim population is Indonesia, with over 200 million inhabitants who adhere to Islam to at least some degree. Thus, Islam is one of the prime religions which too have concepts related to the health and healing of its followers. The various ways by which Islam promotes healing will be a part of my lecture in the following sections. The followers of Islam preach Allah. Allah is the name Muslims use for the supreme and unique God who created and rules everything. The heart of faith for all Muslims is obedience to Allah's will. Allah is eternal, omniscient, and omnipotent. A believer can approach Allah by praying and by reciting the Qur'an. The people who are the followers of Islam follow mainly the 6 articles of faith. These 6 fundamental beliefs are essential to be followed by all Muslims. The articles of faith are: faith in the unity of God, that is, Muslims believes in one unique, incomparable God. In the Quran, God describes himself as He is God, the One, the God to whom the creatures turn for their needs. He begets not, nor was he begotten, and there is none like him. God alone is the Almighty, the Creator, the Sovereign, and the Sustainer of everything in the whole universe. He manages all affairs. He stands in need of none of his creatures, and all his creatures depend on him for all that they need. Faith in angels. Muslims believe in the existence of the angels and that they are honored creatures. The angels worship God alone, obey him, and act only by his command. Among the angels is Gabriel, who brought down the Qur'an to Muhammad. Faith in prophets. Muslims believe in the prophets and messengers of God, starting with Adam, including Noah, Abraham, Ismail, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, and Jesus. But God's final message to man, a reconfirmation of the eternal message, was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad. Faith in books of revelation. Muslims believe that God revealed books to his messengers as proof for mankind and as guidance for them. Among these books is the Qur'an, which God revealed to the Prophet Muhammad. God has guaranteed the Qur'an's protection from any corruption or distortion. Faith in afterlife. Muslims believe in the day of judgment, that is, the day of resurrection, when all people will be resurrected for God's judgment according to their beliefs and deeds. Faith in destiny. Muslims believe in al-Qadar, which is divine predestination. The belief in divine predestination includes belief in 4 things. Firstly, God knows everything. He knows what has happened and what will happen. Secondly, God has recorded all that has happened and all that will happen. Thirdly, whatever God wills to happen, happens, and whatever He wills not to happen, does not happen. Fourthly, God is the creator of everything. Therefore, these are the 6 main religious paradigms which are followed by all Islam followers. They maintain that if the followers will follow these in its true sense, then they can indeed lead a healthy lifestyle and can have the blessings of the Divine Allah. The concepts of mind, self, soul, spirit and happiness are closely related in the Holy Qur'an. The mind is the body of knowledge housed in the brain. It includes 2 main parts. The first is a software which develops inherently with the brain. It is responsible for the functionality of the body, readiness for learning, and disposition for knowing good and evil. The second part of the mind is accumulated from birth to death as a result of the interaction with the world. So the mind actually houses everything a person learns throughout his or her life. According to Islam, Allah has appointed the human soul as His Khalifa in this world. He has invested it with a certain authority and given it certain responsibilities and obligations, for the fulfillment of which He has endowed it with the best and the most suitable physical frame. The body has been created with the sole object of allowing the soul to use it in the exercise of its authority and the fulfillment of its duties and responsibilities. The body is not a prison for the soul, but its workshop or factory. And if the soul is to grow and develop, it is only through this workshop. Consequently, this world is not a place of punishment in which the human soul unfortunately finds itself, but a field in which Allah has sent it to work and do its duty towards Him. It is by this way that spiritual development takes place within an individual. The methods that Islam lays down for spiritual development rest to faith on 5 pillars. The 5 main pillars in Islam are: firstly, testimony of faith. The testimony of faith is saying with conviction, there is no true God but God, that is Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger, that is prophet of God. This testimony of faith is called the Shahada. The testimony of faith is the most important pillar of Islam. Secondly, prayer, that is Salat. Muslims perform 5 prayers a day. Each prayer does not take more than a few minutes to perform. Prayer in Islam is a direct link between the worshipper and God. There are no intermediaries between the God and the worshipper. In prayer, a person feels inner happiness, peace and comfort, and that God is pleased with him or her. Prayers are performed at dawn, noon, mid-afternoon, sunset and night. Thirdly, almsgiving, that is zakat. All things belong to God, and wealth is therefore held by human beings in trust. The original meaning of the word zakat is both purification and growth. Giving zakat means giving a specified percentage on certain properties to certain classes of needy people. Fourthly, fasting, that is swam. A person may also give as much as he or she pleases as voluntary alms or charity. Every year in the month of Ramadan, Muslims fast from dawn until sundown, abstaining from food, drink and sexual relations. Although the fast is beneficial to health, it is regarded principally as a method of spiritual self-purification. By cutting oneself off from worldly comforts, even for a short time, a fasting person gains true sympathy with those who go hungry, as well as growth in his or her spiritual life. Finally, pilgrimage, that is Hajj. The annual pilgrimage, that is Hajj, to Makkah is an obligation once in a lifetime for those who are physically and financially able to perform it. About 2 million people go to Makkah each year from every corner of the globe. Although Makkah is always filled with visitors, the annual Hajj is performed in the 12th month of the Islamic calendar. The end of the Hajj is marked by a festival, that is Eid al-Adha, which is celebrated with prayers. This and Eid al-Fitr, a feast day commemorating the end of Ramadan, are the two annual festivals of the Muslim calendar. Thus, one can divide the sphere of spiritual medicine in Islam into two broad divisions. That is, firstly, distant healing, and secondly, self-healing. That is, healing by the person's own effort. Most often, the concept of dua in Islam, which is petitionary prayer for the well-being of an individual, is considered to be beneficiary in nature. Within the Qur'an, 4 components are mentioned that have come to be viewed as a holistic model of the self. This model is based on the interrelation between the ruh, that is soul, and qalb, that is connection between the soul and the body. The al, that is intellect, and the nafs, that is drives or desires, merging through the damir, that is consciousness. In order to be healthy, all 4 aspects of the self needs to be balanced. An imbalance in any aspect results in physical, mental, and spiritual illness. Muslim patients resort to modern medicine, spiritual healing, and traditional healing practices. The spiritual healing practices include recitation of the verses of the noble Qur'an and specific prophetic supplications. The use of Zamzam water obtained from the well in the holy mosque located in Makkah, Saudi Arabia, is also widely practiced. Although forbidden, according to the Sunnah, the use of amulets is still not uncommon among some Muslim communities. According to Islamic teachings, honey and black cumin are considered to have healing properties. Sufism is also related with the process of healing among the individuals. Sufism, the spiritual aspect of Islam dedicated to divine love, focuses on healing through remembrance of God and meditation. The Sufi method of healing uses spiritual power and has been practiced by Sufis for centuries, sometimes as a daily ritual. Their methods include meditation, contemplation about the universe and the life hereafter, and other modes of disciplining the heart. Sufism focuses on a person's inner dimension, including the emotions and spiritual strengths and weaknesses. Sufis see true healing as existential, attaining a state where the human body, mind and heart functions harmoniously with the universe. This is based on the Sufi concept of connectedness to the universe and the entities within due to having the same creator. This bridges the existence of all entities and put them into a relationship of coexistence and cooperation instead of conflict. The traditions of healing among the followers of Islam can be divided into three main traditions. Firstly, the traditional methods of healing. Traditional healers are used to treat various physical, mental and spiritual diseases and conditions. They are used when Muslims believe a certain condition is thought to occur outside of the realm of a conventional physician's knowledge and training. Traditional doctors are known by the people as hakims, and their activities usually include the use of herbal medicine, homeopathy, naturopathy and chiropractic. Secondly, folk medicine for healing. There were various methods of folk healing which are followed even in the modern 21st century. Medicinal herbs such as chamomile tea are used as a form of body care and are used in diet. Muslims often use pine nuts for babies with constipation, rose water for a colicky baby, or rub the baby's body with salt for proper skin care. Quranic verses are worn on the body or recited. Direct recitation of Quranic verses from the holy person, an object from a holy location and religious tombs. Thirdly, modern view of healing in Islam. Modern studies indicates that spiritual healing can help with any problem, mental, physical or emotional. Due to the advancement of medical technology, modern medicine plays a dominant role in the treatment for acute medical conditions. However, certain forms of alternative medicines do work for certain medical conditions when compared to the modern or conventional medicines. Many physicians and patients all over the world believe in the spiritual dimensions in healing, such as the power of prayer as an adjunct or complementary. Medicine to modern or conventional medicine. Recent scientific research indicates that affirming belief in God or Allah makes a critical contribution to our physical health. When people call upon faith, they activate neurologic pathways for self-healing. The Muslim prayer consists of contact prayer, the salat, zikr or remembrance of Allah, and recitation of the Qur'an. These elicit this physiological relaxation response. Hajj and congregational prayers serve to buffer the adverse effects of stress and anger. It is speculated that congregational prayers may trigger a multifactorial sequence of biological processes leading to better health. Therefore, these are the various ways by which the Islamic spiritual practices can be studied. Muslim scholars maintained that healing involved physical, psychological and spiritual processes. In order to overcome illness, a person must apply both physical treatment and spiritual strengthening. The different forms of worship in Islam develop a mentality which leads to spiritual healing and well-being, along with physical healing and the alleviation of physical suffering. Al-Razi, undoubtedly the greatest physician of the Islamic world, states that the Creator bestowed reason on man so that people can achieve contentment in this world and happiness in the hereafter. By applying reason, a person can reduce grief caused by illnesses or other hardships and can take certain stipulations. Ibn Sina supported the view of the benefits of prayer. However, he maintained that the faithful must seek proper medical treatment as well as seeking spiritual remedies. In this sense, making dua without seeking medical treatment does not validate the dua. It is obligatory for Muslims to seek medical treatment. If a Muslim makes dua without seeking or intending to seek medical treatment, he or she is not practicing dualism, attending to the spiritual dimension of his or her being, but not the physical dimension. Al-Dahabi, an influential Hakim and a traditional Islamic scholar and historian, purports the benefits of Islamic ritual prayers. Islamic ritual prayers are fourfold, that is, spiritual, psychological, physical, and moral. He gave 3 reasons for this. First, ritual prayer is a form of worship commanded by God. Second, prayer has a psychological benefit. Concentrating on prayers diverts the mind from pain. In the physical sense, prayer allows for full bodily movements, which cause some organs such as the muscles to relax. Al-Dhahabi also asserted that prayers often produce happiness and satisfaction. They suppress anxiety and extinguish anger. Al-Suwaiti indicated prayer also enhances psychological well-being, since it brings pleasure and comfort, because prayer contains the excellencies of this world and of the next. It heals spiritual illnesses like greed, avarice, arrogance, and envy in this world, and is an act honored by God. Recent developments in the field of healing revealed that recently Muslim intellectuals have been inspired by Western scientific studies examining the efficacy of prayer and have begun to apply modern research methods to the field of Islamic healing. Muslims believe their bodies are given to them as a trust by God to use appropriately for the attainment of salvation. The consumption of alcohol or any intoxicant is forbidden. Smoking or using any other substance that is harmful to the body is also frowned upon. Ablution before prayer is mandatory and includes washing of the hands, arms, face, and feet. Islam affirms human sexuality as a gift from God when enjoyed legitimately. Sexual activity outside of marriage is condemned and believed to damage the body and soul. Overall, leading a healthy lifestyle is seen as a religious obligation. Illness is often regarded in Islam as a trial sent by God, with the outcome being dependent on individual attitude. Even the pricking of a finger, if endured patiently and piously, will wash away sins. Muslims believe for every illness there is a cure, though it may not be known medically. Prayerful healing and seeking medical care go hand in hand. It is even permissible to take forbidden products for healing purposes if no alternatives are available. Before the availability of non-porcine insulin, for example, it was acceptable for Muslims to use pig-derived insulin. Healthcare workers are considered God's agents of healing, whereas final healing comes from God alone. Many Muslims also believe in holistic healthcare, which will vary according to culture. Honey is mentioned in the Qur'an as having healing properties. While in the hospital, many Muslims may still wish to perform their 5 daily prayers. Assistance may be needed to wash prior to prayer, especially if the patient is bedridden. Arrangements at the bedside for carrying out the prayers, including a clean sheet and the knowledge of the direction of Mecca, that is northeast, will be appreciated. Reading of the Quran and offering copies of the Quran to a sick person as well as family is highly encouraged, and many patients will feel comforted by listening to its recital. The Muslims believe that God rewards those who put up with their suffering with tolerance and faith in God's mercy. To sum up, sickness is considered as a means to a closer association with God, the healer. The practice of spiritual healing is called ruqya in Islam. As stated earlier, Islam doesn't disregard the role of biomedicine. Patients must receive medication through the biomedical lines, along with having faith upon the role of spiritual healing. A few case studies conducted by Islamic Educational and Cultural Research Center will elaborate how Islamic spiritual healing plays a functional part in the lives of all Muslim patients. A patient came in for treatment who had been recently diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. Hodgkin's disease is a malignant growth of cells in the lymph node system. The patient was suffering from nausea and vomiting, a sore throat, stomach pain, sore mouth, and bone pain. Some of the vomiting and nausea may have been due to chemotherapy and radiation, but he still continued the treatment during the course of ruqya treatment. The patient had tumors in his underarm area. He received continuous 41-day treatment, airing which Quranic verses were recited and blown on the patient's underarm. The patient reported feeling energized after receiving treatments. After approximately 10 days of ruqya treatment, the tumors had disappeared. When the patient appeared before the medical doctors, they were surprised at the disappearance of the tumors and had not expected the chemotherapy to be able to act so quickly. Current status of the patient has reported to have been absolutely cured. Another case study showed that a mother came in for treatment with a 4-year-old daughter. The daughter would get into a state in which she would suddenly start crying and yelling for no apparent reason. After receiving spiritual treatment, the girl has not suffered from these bouts. Therefore, it can be summed up that Islamic spiritual healing practices are indeed beneficiary in nature. It acts as benevolent in nature. The sacred law of Islam, that is the Sharia, distinguishes two kinds of practices, that is ibadat, that is practices concerning the relations between the God and human beings, or devotional practices, and muamalat, the social ethics, that is the part of the law that guides the relations between humans. The desired ikhtiyari time for prayer is from the time of sunrise to sunset until the shadow of an object is equal to its length. The 5 prayers are desired to take place in the following order. It is Fajr, that is break of the day. Zuhr, it is midday. Asr, it is you during the afternoon. Maghrib, that is evening. And Isha, it is night. In contrast to the prescribed rituals of Islam, such as the daily prayers, the dua is generally a spontaneous, unstructured conversation with God. The dua is the very essence of worship because it venerates God, celebrates His sublime attributes, and puts trust in Him. Specific requests, however, are frowned upon. A dua is considered most auspicious when framed broadly to seek protection from evil, solicit the good of this world, and salvation in the afterlife. A dua also serves as an incantation to ward off evil or secure grace. Quoting the holy words from Qur'an regarding dua, truly distress has seized me, but you are most merciful of those that are merciful. The Prophet of Islam is reported to have said that a Muslim should not embark on a pilgrimage or pious visit to any mosque other than the holy sanctuary of Mecca, the Prophet's mosque in Medina, and the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. This statement, in a sense, maps out the sacred geography of the Islamic landscape. Muslims revere the cities of Mecca, Medina, and Jerusalem, primarily because of the powerful spiritual symbolism associated with these sanctuaries. Therefore, the cities of Mecca, Medina, and Jerusalem are embraced as holy and regarded as sacred centers because of their intimate association with fundamental Islamic ritual practices. The city of Mecca has been venerated as a holy center since time immemorial. In the pre-Islamic period, it served as a center of pilgrimage for the pagan Arabs and was home to their most important idol deities. Muslims, however, view Mecca as the center of monotheism and the city where the Kaaba, the first house for the exclusive worship of the one true God, Allah, was established. Unlike Mecca, a visit to Medina is not an obligatory part of the pilgrimage, but the Prophet had personally sanctioned journeying to his mosque in Medina for the purpose of ziyarah or pious visit. The second holiest city in Islam is Medina. Therefore, visit to these holy places is looked up by all Muslim followers. A successful trip of the Hajj or Umrah gives the patients a great positive impact on the patient's sense of healthiness and well-being. It psychologically heals them from the sufferings they had to endure. Quran is regarded as the holy text of Islam, where the teachings and verses of Prophet Muhammad are compiled together. Each and every Muslim follower reads the Quran, especially during the times of distress. It gives them psychological support and helps them to face any odd situation in life. It heals them from within by rejuvenating within them the spirit to face any situation. There are 6 verses in the Quran that refers to the process of healing of the Muslim followers. Number 1, and Allah shall heal the breast of the believers. Number 2, mankind, there has come to you as a guidance from your Lord and a healing from the diseases in your hearts, and for those who believe, a guidance and mercy. And we send down in the Qur'an such things that have healing and mercy for the believers. Number 4, their issues from within the bodies oft be a drink of varying colors, wherein is healing for mankind. Number 5, and when I am ill, it is Allah who cures me. Number 6, and declare that the Quran is guidance and healing for the believers. It can thus be concluded that healing is a prime aspect in Islam. It is a deep-seated belief followed by the members of Islam. It not only heals them during pathological conditions, but also helps them to have a positive attitude towards life. Healing for the well-being of all is prime motto of all Islamic rites, rituals and practices. Thank you.